We're now recording for this session, and to begin tonight's session, I do want to just discuss a few of the due dates. So by now you would have submitted your first essay, the foundation essay, and I'm sure all of you have submitted your conversation activities. The MOOC essay was due on December 4th, and the 4 skills lesson plans due date is December 12th. The final research paper due date is December 15th. Now, if you are not able to get those assignments submitted by those due dates, don't worry about it. Just submit the assignments as soon as you possibly can, because you do not lose late marks, and you're not penalized for submitting the assignments a little bit after the due dates. The due dates are put in there as a suggested time frame for you to work with, and a suggested due date. And without due dates, nobody would ever get anything submitted. So TESOL gives due dates so that it gives a target for the students to have something to work toward. But this is a self-paced course, and if you can't quite get the things done by the due dates that are given, don't worry about it. Don't get stressed about it. Just do them as soon as you possibly can. Now, when it comes to the final board exam, that's scheduled for December 17th. You cannot change that date. That's the date that the exam has been prepared for, and that's the date that it will be offered on. But again, if you do not feel prepared to write that exam, and I think it's very important to submit all your assignments before you write that final board exam, because all the assignment preparation and doing the research paper, that all helps you to be prepared for the final board exam. So if you don't think you're ready to write the final board exam, you should send an email to Simon Baker and just explain that you would like to write the next final board exam, which will probably be towards the end of January, I would guess. Towards the end of January 2023, or maybe the beginning of February, somewhere in there. I don't know exactly what that date would be for the next exam. Does that help with due dates?
Yes, sir, it helped me a lot. But sir, the MOOCs lecture was held last week. The topics of the MOOCs were discussed in last week lectures by you. So
Yes.
the deadline was for the deadline was MOOC submission was 4th of December. So the lecture was held last week, and the deadline was coming just after 2 to 3 days of the lecture.
Yes,
So
I
just
know.
like
Yes,
the
I know.
deadline extension.
I know, but Shazia, listen to what I said a couple of minutes ago. If you are not able to submit an assignment by the due date, then don't worry about it. Just submit it as soon as you possibly can. Okay?
Yes, yes, sir. Yes, sir. Thank you. Yes, I got your point.
So it is a self-paced course, and it's not a huge problem if you submit something a little bit later than the due date that is suggested. Okay?
Okay, sir. Okay, thank you. Fine, sir. Fine. And
Okay.
sorry,
So
last
now,
little question. Okay, last little question. The MOOCs is all about the course that we have to do from any platform like Coursera, Udacity, or Udemy, etc. So am I right? Is it all about the experience of doing an extra course from any platform? Am I
well, the
right?
experience you get from doing a MOOC course, that's part of the paper, but you also need to write about the history of MOOCs, how they developed, the advantages and disadvantages of MOOCs compared to in-classroom teaching. And if you go to the module section, the
Yes.
MOOC essay section on the modules in Canvas, it explains everything that you need to do to write the MOOC essay. So follow
Okay, sir.
follow the
Okay.
details closely
Okay.
that are explained, and read
Okay, sir.
carefully what is explained in the Canvas platform. That's
Okay, sir.
put there
Fine.
for your guidance and for your information, okay?
Okay, sir. Thank
So
you.
now we're going to move on to tonight's topic, which is talking about TOEFL and Cellpip and a little bit about IELTS. So we're going to have a look at TOEFL first. So TOEFL stands for Teaching of English as a Foreign Language, and there are the TOEFL tests that can be used to get scores for language proficiency in English, so that you can use those for immigration or for applying to jobs or other related aspects or going to school. Let's have a look at test preparation, TOEFL test preparation. So the TOEFL test preparation on this page, on this website page, you have a lot of information: where to study, where to test, how to schedule your test, prepare for the test, and then you've got the scores after you do the test. So there's a lot of information on the website. And let's just go back to this list because I want to show you the practice test. There's a TOEFL practice test that is on this page, and they've got many different ones. So you can do a practice test online, and you do it this way by inserting your email address, and it takes you to different test questions where you can practice those tests. So that's TOEFL. And let's just look at IELTS for a second, which is the International English Language Teaching Testing System. And the IELTS has sample test questions as well. There are two types of IELTS tests to choose from: IELTS Academic or IELTS General Training. So if somebody is planning to go into university or college studying in an English-speaking country, they would do the IELTS academic test. They would need that score. If somebody is going to work in a profession in an English-speaking country, such as being a lawyer, a doctor, pharmacist, something of that nature, they would do the academic test. If somebody wants to immigrate to an English-speaking country and they want to get a job, but it's not a highly specialized job, then they would do the IELTS general training. And the scores that come out of doing the IELTS test with the academic test, the scores are expected to be higher for people doing the academic test. So to get into an English-speaking university, you might need an IELTS score, academic score of 7.5 or higher. But to immigrate to an English-speaking country with general training, you might be fine with an IELTS score of 6. So it depends on what your goal is, what the purpose of taking the test is, and you should do some research into that ahead of time. So down a little bit further on this page, you can slide this bar and you can go to any of the different categories and get some samples of in this case, the academic rating test. You can get these examples and you can download them, and you get an answer sheet that you can look at. And this helps you tremendously with with understanding how the IELTS test works. So there are people ask questions about IELTS and TOEFL and Cellpip. Cellpip, this is the different lists for Cellpip. Cellpip. Trying to get the home page to open up here. So there are Cellpip sitting in Bangladesh and Pakistan, available for registration. And this is it's one of Canada's leading general English tests for immigration, citizenship, and professional designation. Cellpip English language proficiency test. So it would be in line with the IELTS general language proficiency test. And people ask,
Sir, is it acceptable?
yeah, go ahead,
Is it
sorry.
acceptable? Is it acceptable like IELTS General for immigration in Canada?
Yes,
Cellpip? Is it
yes, it is.
acceptable? So, and what's the okay? If I try, because already have tried the IELTS General and I scored 6.5, but the requirement was 7 in each module. So I prefer to appear in Pearson exam for Australian immigration. But as I told you, that Cellpip is very much helpful and it is the replacement of IELTS also. So I think I should prepare for it. Am I right?
Well, Cellpip is very similar to IELTS. People ask the question, is Cellpip easier than IELTS? And the answer is both IELTS and Cellpip were designed to measure English language proficiency. The level of difficulty is approximately the same in both tests. And then the question, Cellpip versus IELTS, which one should you take in 2022?
Mm.
And, you know, I mean, you can look this up and you can read this answer, and depending on what you read, it might help you to determine which one would be the better test for you to take. This goes into a lot of details about both of them and compares them and talks about them. So you see it gives different scoring ranges on this equivalency chart. The Canada learning bands, the 10, 9, 8, and those are similar all the way across these bands. So the scoring system is quite similar. See, IELTS has slightly different scoring bands from the Cellpip. So there are differences, and you need to compare. You need to compare the two of them. There's a lot of information here that you can go through individually to help you make decisions and to help your students make decisions. Okay.
Is it acceptable? Okay, sir. Is it acceptable only for Canada?
I believe so. Yes, because
Does it have two
Cellpip stands for the
Canadian?
Canadian English language proficiency. So I think it's just for Canada, and it talks about It's officially designated for permanent residence applications by Immigration, Refugee, and Citizenship Canada, and is also accepted for professional designations. See, it doesn't talk about any other countries. Other countries might have their own version of something like this, but I don't know what those are in other countries. I'm only familiar with Canada's approach.
I think it is only for immigration purpose, not for academic point of view. It isn't that much worthy as ALIS academic.
Well, it's a general testing, so it's valid for immigration to Canada and can be
Okay.
used for helping you to get a job in Canada as well. So those are the three different main labels that we have for the different testing systems. So there's TOEFL, Cellpip, and IELTS. And it's a good thing to at least be aware of them. You don't need to know everything about them, but you should know about IELTS for sure. You should know about IELTS because there are probably going to be questions on the final board exam related to IELTS. And knowing what Cellpip is and knowing what TOEFL represents are helpful to you as well. So now we're going to go to the Canvas platform, and I just had to stop sharing so I could access my toolbar to get to it. Because in the modules, we see the different TOEFL sections, and we've had a look at a few of these TOEFL sections. This is module 7A, Teaching Academic English, the TOEFL preparation. So if you have not written the midterm exam yet, you likely will not be able to access this module. You have to write the midterm exam before you can access this model. I know most of you have written the midterm exam, but I'm not sure if everybody has. So if you go into these different sections, you see there are a number of videos that are very worthwhile to watch. There's video on each of the different sections of TOEFL for reading, listening, writing, and speaking. And they're very useful videos to watch, useful for your students as well. And then who accepts a TOEFL examination? TOEFL is the most widely respected English language test in the world, recognized by more than 10,000 colleges, universities, and agencies in more than 130 countries, including Australia, Canada, the United Kingdom, which is Great Britain, and Ireland and Scotland and Wales, and the United States. To search institutions that accept TOEFL scores, visit the TOEFL destination search, and you can click on this blue underlined section and it will open up a new window. You can search for different institution names or locations or the TOEFL score requirement. Be sure to confirm any institution's information, such as score requirement, with the institution directly. So if you or students of yours are aiming to go to a specific university or college, you should always contact that university or college, that educational institution, ahead of time and make sure that you've confirmed details related to the scores and make sure that everything is lined up for the student to be accepted, including getting student visas in place and any additional visa categories, including skilled immigration or skilled migration, post-study work, temporary graduate, and permanent residence. There's a special spot here to get extra information about Australian visas through the Department of Immigration and Border Protection, and that will open a new window for you as well. So depending on where you're going, you can get a lot of information from the Canvas platform here. It's got links to different countries and different information sections. Even the European Union or the wider Schengen area, and you're coming from outside, I've lost part of the page there. If you plan to stay for 90 days or more, you'll also need a long stay visa or residence permit. You need to be accepted by a reputable institution in the EU country prior to applying. To apply for these, directly submit your application to the country. I think I have to make it a bit smaller. There we go. To apply for these documents, you'll need to submit your application to the country where you plan to study, along with any documentation and evidence they require. This may include a valid passport, letter of acceptance, medical insurance, proof of language proficiency, proof that you're able to pay tuition fees and support yourself. I'm going to make this a little bit bigger again, but we're losing part of the information off the right-hand side. Sorry about that. But I want to make it bigger so that you're able to see it as well. And then they've got sections for Canada, sections for the USA, and links for you to go and find more information for getting into colleges, universities, or whatever the case might be. Are there any questions about the TOEFL or IELTS or Cellpip or these products?
So what's the difference of TOEFL, IELTS, and Cellpip? What's the difference in all three of them? Either we have to do only one, or either we have to attempt all three of them. What is this?
When you take tests, you only need to do one test, but you need to figure out which test is most appropriate depending on what your goal is. So, for instance, if you want to attend a university or a college in Canada or United States or Australia, you will probably be required to have the IELTS academic test. But you need to contact the educational institution and find out, ask them the question. Because for general applications, for general immigration, and for getting a job that is not a profession. So when we say a profession, we talk about lawyers, doctors, teachers. We talk about a profession. You require the academic IELTS exam. But if you're immigrating and you're not getting a professional job, but you might get a general job working in a store or something like that, then the general IELTS test is fine. And Cellpip is very similar to the general IELTS test. And the TOEFL can be used for academic or for general as well. So you need to ask the same question you're asking me. You need to ask the country, the immigration department of the country, or the school that you want to attend, which one will they accept? Which exam will they accept? Because I don't necessarily have those answers for you. That's why the links are in here for you to look into the different countries and the different educational institutions. Does that help, Bushra?
Yes, sir. Thank you so much.
Okay. Shazia, you have your hand up?
Could you please give some suggestions or advice for appearing in Pearson exam because my consultant asked for PTE academic for Australian fiscal immigration documentation, and I'm going to appear hopefully in February 2023 for PTE Pearson exam because my IELTS general training test was not that good, and I couldn't score according to the requirement of Australian immigration. So I'm taking another chance and want to appear in Pearson exam. Could you please give your valuable suggestions regarding Pearson? Is it better, or would it be helpful for me for immigration purpose, or should I move to IELTS general training again?
Well, the best thing for you to do, Shazia, whatever exam you decide to do, you should do an internet search for sample tests in that exam, and you should practice as much as possible. Because regardless of which exam you write, whether it's IELTS or TOEFL or some other exam, whatever exam you write, the important thing is that you practice lots so you're well prepared for it.
Mm. Okay, so thank you.
Okay?
Everything, everything needs hard work, and I try my best always. But somewhere I miss my marks. I lose my marks. I don't know why. That's why I chose to appear in PTE. But I will follow your instructions as well. Thank you, sir.
Well, and the difficulty with any exam is that we get psychologically concerned. We worry about exams. As soon as we hear the word exam or test, uh, psychologically we get worried about it, and that affects our mark. So when go into an exam, we get stressed, and we're not able to do as well on the exam. So
Sir,
that's another point as well. You need to just get prepared for it.
sir, this last class shows whatever you are saying, the Cellpip and TOEFL. Is this the part of the syllabus of foundation students also? It will also come into the final exam.
Yes, it very possibly could. Yes.
All right, sir. Thank you.
Yes.
Sir,
You're welcome.
in mid, okay, sir. Sir, in midterm test, the whole course or syllabus was written on the header portion of the question paper. So, in the upcoming final exam, the whole course outline, sorry, the whole course more topics or main topics will be written in the header section of the question paper. Um, are you getting my point, sir? Are you understanding what I'm saying?
I'm
The
not re
total number,
I'm not I don't really understand your question, Shazia.
the total number of topics were written in the header section of the questionnaire of midterm test that we all have been in the last month of November. So I'm asking about the total whole course coverage topics.
Well,
Will they be written in the header portion
to help
of the
you
question paper? They were written.
to help you prepare for the final board exam, you can look at the sample exams, and there are instructions here on the Canvas platform. You just need to read through your Canvas platform very thoroughly. So it gives you types of questions that will be asked. It gives you a number of minutes that you should apply to each question. And so it gives you lots of information and detail about the exam. It doesn't give you the actual questions, but it gives you information about the exam. So here are some samples of things that you could find on the exam.
Yes, sir, I want to take your permission. Should I leave my class because I have to drop my niece to her school? May I go now?
If you need to
And
go,
thank you.
if you need to go, then that's fine, Shazia. You can certainly go if you have to go. And then you can listen to the recording later to get the rest of the information.
Okay, sir. Thank you so much. Thanks a lot.
Okay,
Bye. Have a good day.
thank you. You too. So here on the Canvas platform, there is information about the final board exam with some sample questions. And, these are not the questions that will be definitely on the final board exam, but they're just a preview of the types of questions. So you can use this as good preparation for your final exam as well. Be sure to read the Canvas platform and go through it thoroughly because there's a lot of information here. So this gives you the date, and the exam is always available over a period of 2 days, and that's necessary to cover all the time zones around the globe. So that's why it shows there for 2 days. You'll get an email saying, for instance, the final board exam will be available as of midnight on December 17th, 12:01 a.m. December 17th, and it will be available until 12 p.m. or 12 o'clock a.m. on the 18th, for instance, and you're given a couple of days, and you select a block of time in those days that are appropriate for you to set aside and do this exam online. Okay? So that's some information about the final board exam. Any other questions related to the final board exam?
No, sir, the material will be on Canvas and we just have to read it.
That's
And
right.
we
It's
have
here.
to
It's here on
prepare for it.
Canvas, and you just have to read it. That's exactly right, Bushra. Yes.
So after appearing for final term exam, and if we pass that exam, then how much time do they take to send the certificate?
After the board exam, the final
Yes,
board
sir.
exam,
Yes, sir.
it took about 2 to 3 months for me to get my certificate after I wrote the final board exam. So I'm not sure how long it will take when you're overseas. When you're in Pakistan, I'm not sure how long it'll take. It
All right, sir.
could take 4 or 5 months for you to actually
Months?
receive. It
Okay.
could take 4 to 5 months for you to actually receive your certificate. But I honestly don't have those details. I'm not involved in that part of it.
All right, sir. So kind of you that you shared your information, your part of information. Thank you.
You're welcome. I think you will probably receive an electronic version of your certificate before you actually get the paper version.
Okay. All right, sir. So that we can show it at our job site because they are asking any professional course or degree so that any update in our teaching.
Yes.
So they were asking for that, and if we have any update, if we have done a little course and anything, then our promotion will be based on it.
Correct. So you should be able to receive an electronic version of the certificate fairly soon after the marks are all in. But you can get definite confirmation from Simon Baker about that.
All right, so thank you.
Goodness, excuse me. All right, so any other questions about TOEFL or IELTS or Cellpip or the final board exam? We're covering a few topics here tonight, but that's okay.
No, sir, not from my side. Thank you so much.
Okay, you're very welcome.
That's all for today.
I think we've pretty much covered everything that I needed to cover.
Sir, may I leave now?
If you need to go, Bushra, then you can certainly go. Yes, I'm
Yes,
going to
sir.
stop.
My school has come now. I have to join over there.
That's fine. You go, and good luck to you with the rest of your course. I'm going to
Thank
stop.
you so much. And sir,
I'm
it was really
stopping the
nice.
recording now.
It
The
was
record.
really nice meeting with you. You are such a great teacher, and you tell us each and everything very thoroughly. I will be glad, and I will be in touch through emails if I will be have any difficulty. So
Thank you,
thank you so
Bushra.
much.
I
Thank you.
appreciate your kind words. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
So
Okay,
I'm stopping the
goodbye.
record. Stopping the record.